Hello and welcome to part 2 in our Working with 360 series. So here I have the 360 footage from last time. Are just 2 clips, I haven't done anything more to them. What I have kind of done is I've already gone online and just sourced an audio soundtrack. So I got this from the YouTube audio library and just downloaded it and imported it. And again, this is just because we don't have any native sound within our clips. This is again largely because of just ambient sound was just not great. There's a lot of wind and a lot of noise that really just wouldn't have worked for this process. So in this video, we're going to look at how we're going to remove our little tripod or our unwanted element at the bottom of our screen. And to do this, we're going to be using a Nadir cover. So a Nadir is basically a kind of view from above. So if we think about it like a satellite view looking down at the floor, it's a kind of how an image is sphericized or wrapped to basically create like a cover within our monoscopic view or a rectangular view of that scene. So we're going to need to create a kind of brand or logo that we're going to use to cover up down here. We won't be able to do much within Premiere to fix this tripod here, but we might be able to fix that in After Effects at a later stage. But for now, we're just going to be focusing on making an image to cover this bottom here. So the way I typically will find, one of the ways I typically do this is I actually will capture a frame or still for my 360 piece. And I'll use that as a kind of basis to generate my Nadir image. And I'll be doing the image within Photoshop. So I'm just going to go to somewhere in my timeline. It doesn't really matter too much where, because we can always adjust and offset our image afterwards if it's not quite right. And all I'm going to do is just go to somewhere in my timeline and hit the little export frame button here. This will capture a image or still that frame, and I want to save this. I'm just going to save this as a JPEG because there's no transparency I really need to keep from this. I don't want to import this into this project. I'm just going to save this onto my desktop somewhere, and I'll just call this Nadir frame reference, and I'll just hit OK. So now I have a still of this frame. I'm going to open up Photoshop. So the reason I'm using Photoshop for this is because you'll be using the Adobe packages largely for this series. It just makes sense to keep to Adobe. There are other ways of doing this. You could use GIMP. There are actual programs out there that are designed for Nadir creation that you can download, a lot of third-party plugins. But I'm trying to avoid anything like that. I'm trying to keep everything within this Adobe ecosphere for the purposes of this video series. So I'm going to be kind of working on the kind of brief or idea that I'm trying to promote Lincoln in some way. So I'm going to be creating a very, very rough, rudimentary kind of patch. Again, it's something I could probably spend more time on. I probably will spend more time on outside of these videos. Okay, so now we've got our Nadir frame reference still. I'm going to use that to basically position and work out how I'm going to create my Nadir image. So I'm going to open up my Nadir image reference. So this is the still image from our Premiere Pro. And I'm going to just open up and press File, New, and create a new document. I'm going to create this document to be, let's say, 500 by 500 pixels. I'm going to make the background transparent and just hit create. Okay, so I have my new square document created, 500 by 500 pixels. This is where I'm going to create my logo or image. It's going to be my Nadir cover. And I'm going to create a circle, so I'm going to actually use the elliptical marquee tool. I'm just going to create a circle roughly in the center. I'm not too worried about it being perfectly central because I can move it afterwards. And then going to just fill this in. I'm going to use the gradient tool myself because it kind of keeps with my current ongoing theme for my channel. Let's just make sure that our selection, it doesn't have any feather, so I'm going to redraw my circle because my circle has a feather added to it, which I don't actually want. So, there we go. And I'll just do that again. Gradient tool. I'm just going to draw in my gradient. There we go. I'm now going to deselect, so Control D or Command D to deselect. I'm now going to move my circle exactly into the middle. And I'm just going to add some sample text here. So, welcome to Lincoln. So again, nothing not overly imaginative. Let's position this into the middle of my circle, like so. And now I am going to just merge all this down. So we've got our one object here. I'm going to press Control A to select all. And I'm going to go over to, with our layer select, I'm going to go over to Filter, Distort, Polar Coordinates. And I want it to be polar to rectangular. I'm going to press OK. So this is going to create something that looks a bit like this, so you can kind of see where this is already going. I'm then going to go over to Image Adjustment, Image Rotation, Flip Canvas vertically, and then Image Adjustments, Image Rotation, Image Flip Canvas horizontally. I'm now going to just copy this entire layer, go back to my reference image here and press Paste. This will create a new layer like so. I'm going to drag this to the bottom corner. I'm just going to hold Shift and stretch this to fill my region, and just pull this up a little bit like so, and then hit the tick to confirm. So at the moment it doesn't look like doesn't look like much, but once we put this into Premiere Pro you'll see what it's doing. So I'm just going to turn my background layer off. So we've got our transparency like so. I'm going to hit File, Save As, save on my computer, and I'm going to save this as a PNG to keep the transparency. And I'm going to call this Nadir Cover, press Save, press OK. I'm going to go back to Premiere Pro. I'm going to navigate to where my image has just been saved and drag this onto my project. So because we've took that still, it should keep the proportions to our frame like so. So now we've got our image now as a new track. So we've got this above our video track layers. Let me just scale this to fill our timeline. And now if I click on the Toggle VR Display view and I look down, we should have this Welcome to Lincoln image now covering where our little stand was. If I'm not happy with the orientation of this, there's a few things I could possibly do to adjust it. So I could try applying an offset to it. So like I did with the frame, I can reorient my cover image by using the offset values. So let's say I actually want the welcome to be facing towards the cathedral. I'm just going to adjust the shift until it rotates and faces the right direction, like so. And now we are starting to build up our scene. So we've created a very rough image. Again, this could be a transparent image, this could be a logo, this could be a shadow, this could be whatever you want it to be. This is where your kind of creativity comes into it all. So create a new document to a kind of square ratio. We're then going to, once that image is created, we're going to then go to Filter, Distort, Polar Coordinates, and we want it to be polar to rectangular. We're then going to go to Image, Image Rotation, flip vertically, then flip canvas horizontally. We're then going to copy that everything that we've done on that document by pressing Control A, Control C, or Command A, Command V, depending on if you're using a Mac. Paste this onto our reference still. Toggle off our still image layer. Save this as a PNG with transparency, so we've got our image here, and then bring that into Premiere Pro. Position this to where we want to cover our still and for how long. We can use offset to adjust the rotation of this. And again, because this is within Premiere Pro and we've got this option to actually keyframe it, we can keyframe this like we would everything else. So we can have for example, the scale keyframed, the transparency, etc., etc. So this is one way of, within the Adobe ecosphere, of creating nadir images from Photoshop into Premiere Pro and vice versa. So hopefully this kind of helps. Again, there are other ways of doing this. There are third-party applications out there that will do and create you a nadir image for you. You can kind of play about doing it yourself without the reference image. The reason we use a reference image is it just makes life a lot easier, because it makes sure that we have a document of the same size as what our video file will be, to the right proportions. It just makes our whole workflow a lot more efficient and effective. So in the next video we'll be looking at adding text and graphics to our scene outside of the one we've just created. So I'll see you then. Goodbye.